Today on the Paul Harrell program, Cracker Barrel steps in it again with a bogus nonsense non-apology apology. I don't want Uncle Herschel. I want the whole thing. Also, Donald Trump signs executive orders to end cash bail in D.C. and incentivize that policy nationwide by withholding funds from other municipalities. President Trump also signed an executive order banning the burning of the American flag. We're going to talk about that. That's going to be an interesting discussion, to say the least. And the New York Post reports the United Kingdom is arresting an average of 30 citizens per day over politically incorrect social media posts. The Paul Harrell program starts right now.
The Paul Harrell program.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as always, welcome to the show. We can't do the program without you watching every single day. I want to remind everybody to go to paultalkshow.substack.com. You see the graphic on your screen there, paultalkshow.substack.com. If you want to become a paid subscriber to the program directly, and whether it's monthly or yearly, we'll send you a copy of Left Wing Will and The Red Pill. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Rob Spencer, is with us. Rob, take it away, sir.
Paul, I'm glad to be here, as always, on this Monday with lots of news to cover. Of course, a lot of things happened over the weekend, and we're seeing, of course, this is ridiculous out of the UK. I mean, somebody posted the amount of rapes per year in the UK now versus what it was 23 years ago in the year 2000, where they averaged about 8,000 per year. The current number is that they're averaging about 63,000 rapes per year.
63,000?
Yeah, so we've gone from 8 to 63,000, and the UK is concerned about hate speech, quote unquote, hate speech online.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. And they're a different government. It's similar in nature to us, and it's interesting that they will tout their free speech, and you're like, you don't have free speech. And then, of course, we're going to talk about it. Trump has made a lot of headlines today with some executive orders, one of them being issuing, this executive order dealing with free speech. And a lot of conservatives are pushing back. So we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, no, you are. And that's why I put both of the stories back to back, because I find it fascinating that we can see what's going on in the UK. And understandably so. J.D. Vance has been criticizing Germany, been criticizing the UK, been criticizing Europe just in general as not having these foundational Western civilization values of freedom of speech, which really also goes down to freedom of conscience, also freedom of association, which that's a whole nother nut to crack.
Yeah, he had the guts to stand there in front of them and tell them, you don't have free speech. And they're like, yes, we do. Yeah. And they're like, no, you don't.
No, you do not. And so that hypocrisy, they're just kind of hiding it. But, I mean, the Washington Post story here is absolutely, it's just stunning. We've got it right
New
here.
York Post.
I'm sorry, New York Post.
Totally different. Yeah, Washington Post would be a totally different story.
Yeah, that would be, yeah. They'd be criticizing the UK for not arresting enough people.
Oh, yeah, we need 60 arrests per day.
So you see there, UK free speech crackdown sees up to 30 people a day arrested for petty offenses such as retweets and cartoons.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw a video today of a guy that was getting arrested. His wife, and he was a primary caregiver of his wife. His wife is a stage 4 cancer sufferer at this point. She's got stage 4 cancer, and the police show up because he said he's tired of seeing all the Palestinian flags. He would like to see more UK flags out there because that's the country we're in. And since he said that, he was arrested.
And that's in the UK?
Yes.
Wow. It tells the story here of somebody named Bernadette Spoforth. She says she lay in jail on a blue gym mattress in a daze, finding it difficult to move and even breathe. She says, I just closed down, but the other half of my brain went into Jack Reacher mode, referring to the fictional hero. Every single detail was in this very vivid, bright, sharp focus. She remembers noticing that you can't drown yourself in the toilet because there's no standing water in it, and the flush button is too far to reach if your head were in the bowl. She'd ended up being detained for 36 hours in July of 2024. 3 girls had been murdered in Southport, England, at a Taylor Swift-themed dance party. But Spoforth was not under suspicion for a crime. Instead, horrified and in the fog of a developing story, she'd reposted on X another user's content blaming newly arrived migrants for the ghastly crime, clarifying in her retweet, "If this is true." Hours later, she realized she may have received bad information and deleted the post, but it had already been seen thousands of times. And so the murders resulted, this says, in widespread civil unrest in the UK, where mass migration is a central issue for citizens. 4 police vehicles arrived at her home days later. Spoforth, 56, a successful businesswoman from Chester, was placed under arrest. So it tells that story. Then it goes on to tell another story about Maxie Allen, a radio producer in Hertfordshire, was on a Zoom call at a home when he saw police standing over his shoulder from the camera view on his screen. 6 officers came knocking. His partner, Rosalind Levine, who answered the door, thought their disabled daughter had died, to haul the couple off over comments they had posted in a private WhatsApp group for parents at their children's school. In the chat, the couple had been repeatedly critical of the public school's slow pace to recruit a replacement head teacher. "It's shaken the faith of the country I thought I lived in. I never imagined that just by airing your views about how an organization was run, trying to hold people to account in public office, that you'd get arrested for that," Allen 50 told the Post. "If you have a vague law and then it's enforced to its officious and stupid degree, then it's always going to end in tears." And that's what this story is. It's just countless stories of this happening. So this is the last one that we'll read. Similar stories abound. In 2018, a man identifying himself as Adam phoned into the British talk radio station LBC to describe his encounter with police earlier that year. "I'm Asian myself, and I did this drawing of a mate of mine who's also Asian, and I said, 'You look like a terrorist,' and he took it really well. He thought it was funny. But someone else saw the humorous doodle, took issue, and called police. Months later, Adam and his friend were interviewed by authorities. The friend told cops he laughed at the drawing and wasn't offended, but the police still made an official report for a non-crime hate incident and forced Adam to write a letter of apology to his friend, which he had to email him." So, I mean, the West has fallen. They're already a nation or an island of strangers, and it's going to continue because the native Britons that want to, because these are just some examples, but a lot of it has to do with violent migrants, the country changing. You say anything like that, you're going to get swept off the streets.
Well, what you have here is, the fall of the West, as you said, and we've already seen this in Canada. Canada is probably like one step below this in terms of like a totalitarian dictatorship, that the one that they're accusing Trump of. I mean, this is what we're seeing here. Now it's a like the mass government that's doing it rather than maybe one person in charge of things. But it's just absolutely ridiculous when if you think that we can't have that here in the United States. We have protections in place, of course, right? I mean, we are Second Amendment. These citizens here in the UK are far more susceptible to this because they can't defend themselves.
Right.
They can't defend themselves against a totalitarian government who is trying to oppress them and say, you can't say these words. I mean, a lot of this is they try to say, well, because it incites hatred. A drawing from one friend to another, a comment in a WhatsApp group.
I know, man.
This is not like you're taking out a massive billboard so that you can say all Muslims are terrorists and they are da-da-da-da, which, again, is free speech, in my opinion, if the billboard company would do all of that stuff. But that's, at least you could try to say, if you've got that kind of sort of incitement of racial tensions and all of that, that would be a more direct violation of all of this stuff. What they said is, when you have a vague law, I agree with what they've said there. When you have this vague law, it's open to interpretation. And if you have an ideology that believes that, these Muslims or these all of these people that are migrating to this country, like, you look at videos of people walking down the streets of London. Does that look like London?
No.
Okay. I'm not trying to say that as a racist comment, but when you have all of these from these Arab states that are moving to the UK and not assimilating. We talked about this last week. It's about assimilation. They're not assimilating. They're taking over.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay? And the citizens are having a problem with that. But their own government is trying to stifle them and pull them down.
Well, it's also like what you just said is like a complete indictment of multiculturalism. Like, first of all, multiculturalism is, I mean, homogenous societies best work together. So the idea of a multicultural society, but it's not going to work. But in this case, it's obvious because it's eventually Britain is not going to be multicultural at all. It's going to be a uniform culture. Like it's, you've got the immigration and now this liberal ideal of, multiculturalism's all ideas are great ideas. All cultures are fine. I mean, we're seeing it play out that was never the goal. The goal was to totally change the demographics of a country.
Yeah.
And
what they said is, like Charlie Kirk talks about it all the time, like diversity is not our strength.
That's right.
Diversity is not our strength. Our similarities are our strength. Like our similarities of we're Americans. It doesn't, we're a diverse group of Americans. We're like, I like a certain football team. You like a certain football team. This person likes a certain football team. Like our similarities might be if those teams were playing, against each other, right? And we're able to enjoy a party together and have a good time versus we're just this hodgepodge of college football fans and we're all just getting together and you're like, okay, well, we're the Arkansas Razorback fans.
Yeah, you got a bunch of people that don't even know what football is and they like soccer.
Right, but we're diverse. We're diverse.
But we're diverse.
Right, we're diverse, and you're like, where's the cricket? I want to play some cricket,
exactly.
Like, okay, well, that diversity is not our strength here. Let's all, whatever. Our similarities might be that we're all college football fans, that we're all fans of this team or its opponent, right? And anyway, it's a really elementary comparison to say that just because you're diverse doesn't make you stronger.
Yeah.
Because if that diversity doesn't sort of tunnel into assimilation, then why are we together?
Yeah. Well, that's a great point, and I'll add another one, and it's maybe a little bit more controversial, but to me it just seems the only countries that are selected to embrace diversity and multiculturalisms are white countries.
Are white.
Like
are white.
You don't see
you
need
more diversity, white country.
You need more white people in your brown country.
Nobody's going into Nigeria and saying we need more white people here.
Right, and so that's the elephant in the room is that this only applies if you've got a majority white nation.
Sure.
Then you've got to somehow import of the third world or you're racist.
Let's go tell President Xi there in China that he needs more white people, he needs more Africans, he needs more South Americans. That's what he needs in his country because he needs more diversity there.
Right.
He was like,
there's too many Chinese people there. I mean, come on, get with the virtue signaling, Xi. All right, so real quick, interesting point on this. This Washington Post story, again, let me throw this up on the screen. At first, you were the one that showed it to me, Rob, but you did it via this TikTok from a guy by the name of the Older Millennial.
Millennial.
Viewer discretion advised. There's some language in this video.
Yeah,
so just
every
FYI.
one of his videos, he's going to give you some language, but he is he's on the right, but he's not he does not agree with everything that the administration does.
Right.
Like he's not just a mindless shill on this stuff. He's wrong on some things, but I don't know. I disagree with him on a lot of things, but he's right on this.
The particular I'm playing this, you're going to hear what you just heard, but then he has a statistic in here. I couldn't find it anywhere else, but he claims that while the UK is arresting 30 people per day for stuff they say online, Russia is only arresting 3 people per day.
They're arresting an average of 30 people per day for things they said online. That's not a free country. Like, you don't have freedom of speech. You don't have freedom of expression. You don't have freedom. You're living under an oppressive regime. Like, I'm sorry, if 30 people per day are being arrested for shit they said online, the vast majority of them just for criticizing immigrants or criticizing the government's decisions, you're not a free country. The UK has fallen. Now, on paper, sure, you look like a free country. You look like you have freedoms to do what you want and say what you want, but you're not. Sorry, you're just not. You cannot be arresting 30 people every fucking day for saying something criticizing the government online and call yourselves a free country. Like, everybody loves to talk about how oppressive Russia is. And look, I'm not fucking defending Russia. They are oppressive. But they arrest an average of 6. The oppressive and totalitarian regime of Russia arrests an average of 6 people for things they say online criticizing the government. The UK, the tiny little island of the UK, arrests 5 times as many. Yeah, you guys aren't a free country anymore.
It's pretty incredible. I mean, again, I couldn't find that Russia statistic, but if that's true, I mean, come on.
Well, and it's hard to judge, statistics that come out of Russia anyway. Especially if it comes from state media or something of that nature.
Or in fairness, if you're relying on Western media, it's hard to judge statistics too.
Well, I agree with all of that. It's, I mean, honestly, it's hard to believe any statistics.
Let's look up
right?
some statistics on North Korea that are reliable.
Yeah. Of course,
how do you do that?
But he's in his point, whether his numbers are correct or whatever is valid in that you're supposed to. We all understand that the people of Russia are not free, right? That is not. I mean, he's a president, but go around waving a bunch of banners talking about Vladimir Putin, and he's got to go. The stuff that we say that the leftists say about Donald Trump here in the United States. Imagine if that was said about Putin in Russia. It can't be. Right. We understand that. We accept that. Whether it's right or whether it's wrong, we understand that that's the case. But we don't think that that's the way that it should be in the UK, one of our closest partners, one of our closest allies, not an adversary.
Well, it's the hypocrisy of it all, because Europe tries to claim this moral superiority over Russia, and that's when it comes to that sort of thing, they don't have it, and then there's like, and again, I don't really know, I'm not really sure about what goes in Russia, what goes on in Russia. Like I know LGBTQ propaganda has been outlawed. That was outlawed in 2013, right before the Ukraine war. Obviously, I know that took place, and like I said, you're not going to be able to criticize the government the way you can over here. Like I totally understand that, but I remember this was like 15 years ago. I was talking to a guy who owns a junkyard, and he was a part of this association. Let me go full screen here because I don't mean to go on a rabbit trail, but he was a part of this National Junkyard Association.
It's a salvage facility.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Salvage
facility. He was part of and he was I don't know, the president or something, or he was in the leadership of the national organization, and for whatever reason they had to go to Russia for something related to this work, and he came back and he told me, he said, now granted, I don't know if it was a guided tour, I don't know, but he was like, we're not being told the truth about how. He's like, the people over there are living just like we're living, just in terms of the commercialization and things like that. And this was, of course, back when the Western finance and McDonald's and stuff hadn't pulled out.
You're talking about Russia?
Yeah, I'm talking about in Russia. He was blown away about what he thought he would see versus what he actually saw. And I think that's part of why Tucker Carlson went over there in the first place. And, he took a lot of heat for going into the grocery store and that sort of thing.
His videos of Subways was like, oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it was immaculate. And
it's you would imagine if there were Subways in heaven, that's right. like they would be clean and
the
immaculate.
Harry Potter Subway.
That's a better one, yeah.
But it's it was just strange to me to see that or to hear that the first time. That was the first inkling that I had of that. And you just got to kind of wonder, is Donald Trump even taking cues? Is that one of the reasons he's trying to make the nation's capital as safe as he is? And again, this is not simping for Russia. This is just, I don't think we're getting the whole story over there. Anyway, I don't mean to jot and tittle or try to qualify everything.
I mean, we've said it before, Paul, and I think any rational person would agree that no one is as good or as bad as the media would have you believe. So, I mean, the United States has its foibles as well, and we struggle in a lot of ways. I think this one right here, the one we're about to talk about, it's going to be interesting because I've already seen a lot of conservative backlash about this.
Yeah. So this is a perfect segue, talking about Russia, talking about UK, and now we have this story out of the Oval Office today. President Trump signing an order that would make a mandatory 1 year jail sentence if you're burning an American flag. So let's listen to what he said first, because when I just first read the headlines, but I wanted to go hear what he actually said, because I was like, how is he legally going to do
I've
this?
only seen excerpts of this because this was a 1989 Supreme Court case that said that burning the American flag was a protected free speech under the First Amendment.
All right, here he goes.
Sir, this is an executive order on flag burning. It charges your attorney general.
Would you listen to this? This is very important. Flag burning. All over the country, they're burning flags. all over the world, they burn the American flag. And as you know, through a very sad court, I guess it was a 5-4 decision, they called it freedom of speech. But there's another reason, which is perhaps much more important. It's called death. Because what happens when you burn a flag is the area goes crazy. If you have hundreds of people, they go crazy. You can do other things. You can burn this piece of paper. But when you burn the American flag, it incites riots at levels that we've never seen before. People go crazy. In a way, both ways. There are some that are going crazy for doing it. There are others that are angry about them doing it. Do you want to discuss that?
Sure. So what the executive order does, sir, it charges your Department of Justice with investigating instances of flag burning, and then where there's evidence of criminal activity, where prosecution wouldn't fall afoul of the First Amendment, and instructs the Department of Justice to prosecute those who are engaged in these instances of flag burning.
And what the penalty is going to be, if you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail. No early exits, no nothing. You get 1 year in jail. If you burn a flag, and what it does is incite to riot. I hope they use that language, by the way. Did they? Incite to riot. And you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail. You don't get 10 years, you don't get 1 month. You get 1 year in jail, and it goes on your record. And you will see flag burning stopping immediately, just like when I signed the Statute and Monument Act. 10 years in jail if you hurt any of our beautiful monuments. Everybody left town. They were gone. Never had a problem after that. It's pretty amazing. We stopped it. But this is something that's, I don't know, in a certain way, it's equally as important. Some people would say it's more important. Because the people in this country don't want to see our American flag burned and spit on. And by people that are, in many cases, paid agitators. They're paid by the radical left to do it. You talk to these people, they don't even know, half of them don't even know what they're doing. They say, I don't know, they gave me money to do this.
Okay. So, to summarize, it seems like the legal basis for it will be inciting of a riot.
Yeah.
But his, proclamation reader seems to say, but we will make sure that prosecutions are not in violation of the First Amendment. So that's an interesting needle to thread there.
I wonder if this is a big nothing burger, because the way that Trump has set this up, it sounds as if the only way that they can get around this Supreme Court ruling is if they say, okay, well, you're not allowed to incite a riot, right? And it's like you can't yell fire in a burning or in a building. That's
exactly what
right?
I was thinking. Yeah.
Okay, so you cannot incite this riot, and on some level he's correct that this flag burning is usually there's a crowd around, and they're hooping and hollering like they're at a bonfire, drunk. That's kind of like how it makes me think about it. But anyway, so he's setting this up in my opinion to say, if this person burns a flag and it could be deemed that they were inciting some sort of riot, that the Justice Department is charged with investigating, and if they have found all of those elements to be true, then they would sentence them to 1 year.
So the flag burning is just kind of like a prerequisite. Meaning, if you burn a flag, we're going to look at the situation.
Yeah,
and you're going to
get on our radar.
Yeah, because we don't like it, so we're trying to disincentivize it. But I don't know if you can actually say that he's banning the burning of the American flag based on. But maybe you can. I get why people are upset about it. And look, man, if it had been 15 years ago, I would be so triggered. I know. I'm a little different than I used to be. I'd be like, the First Amendment. How can you do this? But I don't know.
Well, what are we seeing here? We're seeing that if you were to burn the LGBTQ plus QI F series
hate crime,
you could potentially be charged with a hate crime. And you're like, okay, well, we've seen that too, where you've got the gay pride flags on streets, and there's a guy that does a burnout.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, okay, well, this guy's charged with a hate crime. Well, there is no greater symbol of hate, in my opinion. Right. Well, that's a strong statement, but it's one of the greatest symbols of hate that you are burning the American flag because you are saying, I am so disgusted by our country that I'm going to burn the symbol that it stands for. Like, this flag stands for American freedom. It stands for America.
Yeah.
And I'm going to burn it because I'm so frustrated with what's going on right now. Okay. The Supreme Court in the 80s, 89, said that was protected free speech. I think Trump is trying with this incitement of the riot, which I think is a little bit of a stretch, but I'm sure that there are times where that is the case, that he's trying to do a workaround to that. So it's going to be interesting to see if that does if that gets around here. Did that trigger something in your brain here?
Well, it did. I just kind of was thinking. Well, first of all, let me address what you said about the rainbow flag. So libertarians are going to come and they're going to say, okay, this could set up the precedent, right, to do more stuff like this if somebody else gets in power. And there's a lot of back and forth with that right now. There was that same argument that could have been made when he puts the troops in D.C. or if he does put troops in Chicago and that sort of thing. People are worried that there's maybe a precedent or you're crossing the Rubicon or something like that. But I was saying earlier today, and I guess this goes with the flag thing too, because he's fundamentally talking about keeping people safe because he said death, okay? All right. And so, but putting the flag thing aside, like, let's just talk about the murder rate in Chicago. Like, look at the murder rate in D.C. Like, right now, Donald Trump can effectively say, as we talked about on Thursday, that there hadn't been a murder in like
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
All right. So Donald Trump can effectively say, I had the power to stop this. I went in, and there are more people alive now than there would have been.
They were averaging a murder every other day.
So he had the power to do it. So if he has the power, regardless of what precedent it sets, but like if you were the president or I were the president and you looked at Chicago and you saw the gun violence and you saw all of the violence, or you looked at the left-wing agitators that are burning the American flag that could potentially put more people's lives in danger, and you had the power to do something about it, and let's say that he can declare an emergency and somehow constitutionally put the federal agents in Chicago and save lives, versus doing nothing and knowing that you didn't do anything and people are dead because you decided, I'm not going to. I just think practically that's kind of the way he thinks, is in those terms. He also thinks politically and everything else, but to the point where, well, I can't do that because it's unconstitutional. But then you think, but I want to save lives.
Find me a way.
Yeah, find me a way, because what's going on in Chicago is there are good people that live there who are being terrorized because Democrats won't enforce the laws.
Yeah.
And so if you put it in that standpoint, like, I want to go be the hero. I want to go be a savior to these people. I want to put the bad guys in jail. I don't know. This is a different way of thinking than what we've had in my entire lifetime in terms of politics. So.
Yeah, I agree. And I think with him being in his, being lame duck essentially this last term, in terms of his ability to run again, now he's, he teases all of that stuff. But I don't truly believe that he's going to try to go down that path to run for another term, and that's good. He shouldn't, because I think he would lose a lot of people. But at the same time, I think that he's just all the gloves are off kind of thing. Like, I think he's looking at it and he's saying, I'm going to do what I think is right. And if the court deems, and the court is in the Supreme Court, if they deem that I have done something incorrect, if they deem, okay, so be it. But I'm going to do it, because I think that it's right, and we're going to send it up the line and see if it holds up.
Yeah.
This
is what came to my mind, Rob, was the Alien and Sedition Acts in 1798, okay? So these are guys that they just, they were around at the Declaration, they were around at the Constitution, they were around at the 1789 Bill of Rights. Then they passed the Alien and Sedition Acts, and it says they were never formally overturned by the Supreme Court, but 3 of the 4 acts expired or repealed shortly after their passage in 1798, the subsequent election of Thomas Jefferson in 1800. The acts, which restricted free speech and allowed for the deportation of foreign nationals, were widely opposed and seen as a violation of the First Amendment by figures like Thomas Jefferson and James Madison. So this was John Adams. This was President John Adams, you see there, who was like, I don't want people to talk bad about me. Or at least this is how it's presented in my public school understanding of history. Somebody that close to the founding was like, I think the government should be able to limit out, because they were calling each, like, allegedly, between Adams and Jefferson, right? Isn't that the campaign where one was calling the other a hermaphrodite and the other was calling them something even more terrible than that? I'm dead serious. People think our rhetoric in politics is like,
brand new. Yeah, it's not.
It's always been cutthroat.
Right.
So I don't know, just something to think about in the context of what we're debating now. It's not as if this is the first American president to say, you know what? I don't think you should. I think we're going to use hard power and we're going to end the flag burning. And again, I get the First Amendment implications, but if you listen to his rationale, it's a little different than like a straight like totalitarian.
It's not if you or I walk out into the street, or actually, let's just say walk out onto the sidewalk in front of the studio here. We walk out onto the sidewalk and we decide that we're going to burn the American flag and we video it. Yeah. And there's no one around. Based off of what he said there, that's
right.
That's not against
incite a riot.
Yeah, we didn't incite a riot, and of course we would be on a radar. And
we
just don't want to be on a government radar.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm a business owner. I don't want to be on the radar. Yeah.
Well, speaking of business, let's before we get to the rest of the executive orders, I think it's time for our New Horizon Real Estate Minute.
Yes.
So, Rob Spencer from New Horizon Real Estate, take it away, sir.
So what we've seen here is Jerome Powell here recently giving his remarks that have triggered a market surge. And what he's saying is he's basically signaled that we will see a rate cut, an interest rate cut in September. So what is that going to do? We have a lot of people who are sitting there waiting for a refi. We have a lot of people who are sitting on the sidelines who are waiting for these rates to come down. Now, will it be a quarter of a point? Will it be a half a point? It's not going to be this massive difference if you are to finance and it's going to lower your payments, but it will have an indirect correlation here, and these mortgage rates will come down. We may get as many as 4 rate cuts for the rest of this year, and if they do, 2026 is going to be a surging housing market here in the United States leading into those midterms, which if we've got a strong economy, strong housing market, and strong metrics, the president will do well, by my opinion and by history, in those midterms.
Wow. So there you go, folks. That's your New Horizon Real Estate Minute. I think that was right at a minute, Rob. Real quick, back here in a minute.
The Virtue Signal Hotline. Yes, it's true. We're better than you.
It's the Virtue Signal Hotline, where you can define your own reality. How can we help you?
My grandson told me that I need to check my privilege. How do I do that? Is that like checking my blood pressure?
Well, it's close. You just need to stare into the mirror and repeat, "I'm the problem," 3 times.
So what happens if I don't?
Well, your social credit score will drop and you'll lose access to the organic section at Whole Foods.
Whole Foods? Oh, I better start chanting then.
That's the spirit, sir. Old people have the most to apologize for.
Whistles blow, claps in time. Virtue calling on the line. Do the right thing every time.
Hang on, I gotta wait for the beat to drop.
The Virtue Signal Hotline.
There it is.
Better than you.
Editing that is not necessarily something that that song just gets totally stuck in your head. So.
Well, it does, and I have to work on my old man voice, so that's what it came out. Whole Foods. I can't lose access to the organic section at Whole Foods.
Yeah, so if you want access to parodies like that and more, again, that's where you should go and subscribe to paultalkshow.substack.com. And again, the paid subscribers will get a copy of Left Wing Will and The Red Pill.
We've got a bunch of those filmed, and we're going to continue to play those. That's a lot.
Yeah.
I hope some are funnier than others.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
So, but it's all about just making fun of the left. In some, like, we're not trying to make fun of these, basic normal Democrats who just,
I don't know if there's such a thing, but
well, I'm just saying there are certain people that are like, hey, I don't like this trans stuff.
Okay.
I'm in favor of a pathway to citizenship for some of these illegal immigrants who have been here for a long time, but I'm also not in favor of an open border that's just coming across here. I would like to see better health care and all of these things, right? Like, those old Democrats still exist, right? Now they're coming.
A lot of them may have voted for Trump.
Well, they may have. There may have been a crossover there. that's not who we're trying to poke fun at. We're trying to poke fun at this person who is like, hey, I'm on this sports team. I'm a 16-year-old boy, and you know what? I'm a girl now, and I'm going to go swim with the girls, and I'm just going to set records, Like, my 3-year-old says that they're a girl when they were born a boy, and all this stuff. Like the ridiculousness of some of this stuff, I know. And your social credit score, right? Like if you are,
which is a thing that they want. Oh, did you hear? I didn't tell you this. I don't know, but so Alex Jones, I watched a little bit of AJ the other day because he apparently had a long conversation with Ed Martin, who's one of the attorneys at the Justice Department who's investigating all of the corruption, and he gave like an interview, and it was on the record. Some of it was off the record. Anyway, one of the things that Alex Jones gleaned from that is Ed Martin being like, "You're not going to believe what we found." Jack Smith, the special prosecutor, had plans to not only do everything that he did to Trump, but set up massive show trials where they were going to try thousands of Americans at a time.
Wow.
From their jail cells. They wouldn't have even been in the courtroom. And that's what he said. Apparently, they found those plans. Yeah. to the point where, going all the way back to what we were talking about the UK, and you were in a WhatsApp message group, and you say something off color, and now you get a knock at the door from UK. Had Kamala won, I think Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, all of that. I mean, I have private conversations.
Sure.
Look, I mean, I know nothing's truly private
anymore,
and we don't have that expectation with the way the NSA's capabilities are. But yeah, I got conversations that I have with my family members, and we crack jokes, and who knows what would be made offensive, or now you got to pay an extra because you said something that's not politically correct. So now, you don't have access to your messaging app anymore.
Yeah. Well, that would never happen here in the United States, Paul, except that Donald Trump himself was debanked.
Yeah.
Conservatives across the country, even billionaires, were debanked by these extremely left-leaning organizations that were basically all controlled by Vanguard and BlackRock, where all of this stuff, they are left-leaning in themselves. I'm like, are you kidding?
Yeah. Well,
and it is because those organizations benefit when Democrats are in power, because Democrats are for big government, slush funds, let's just send money out there, right? We're going to send $10 billion to this project where maybe if we're lucky, $500 million of it actually gets spent on something. The other $9.5 billion gets kicked back to these companies that are in charge of this. So these organizations benefit when the Democrats are involved, the anti-Doge, if you want to, for lack of a better way to put it. And so, it's not a surprise that they're left-leaning and they're controlling these organizations. So this is already happening in the United States. Don't be naive and think that it can't. We're not that far away from the UK and Canada.
No, I totally agree. And that's why we can't pull any of our punches when it comes to holding these people accountable. I talked about we didn't talk about John Bolton yet, but, John Bolton getting raided is a very positive development. And but it's still, obligatory statement, arrest somebody or none of this matters. Donald Trump from the Oval Office, cashless bail, trying to make D.C. safer and the rest of the country safer.
Let's go. Could I ask you to say exactly what this is?
Of course. So as you've consistently identified, sir, cashless bail policies are a key driver of the disorder we see on city streets all over America. Catch and release system allows criminals to keep going back out onto the street and reoffending. What this executive order does, it charges your attorney general with identifying jurisdictions all over the country that have cashless bail policies, and then it withholds or revokes federal funds and grants that are flowing to those jurisdictions to ensure that we're only supporting the people who have reasonable common sense policies around crime.
So what area does it cover?
Potentially anywhere that has a cashless bail policy. So some of the largest cities, some of the most left-wing states in America
Almost
have adopted.
all of them, right?
Illinois would be a great example of that, sir.
Oh, they have a great cashless bail. You don't even have to go to court sometimes.
Yeah. So then he goes to rip on Pritzker, which is fun. Anytime you rip on Governor Pritzker, who himself has 2028 ambitions.
Of course,
You know, I teased this in the video from this morning talking about how we're going to talk about, you know, Gavin Newsom's got those 2028 ambitions here.
Yep.
And
Newsom, Pritzker, tip the scales for the Democrats, and then put Pritzker like on a giant, you know, like
yeah.
I'm making a fat joke, everyone.
Right.
All right.
Well, they're going to have a better chance with that ticket than throwing AOC, who's also allegedly.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to go with white guys.
Yeah, because the fringe left would love for, you know, an AOC type person, but when you look at Pritzker and Gavin Newsom, I think they're terrible records, but at least they have governor records to run on.
Right.
And even as terrible as they are, they've done some good things.
Oh, they
in
got
their
a
state.
machine behind them.
Right,
They got
right.
Illinois, California. Yeah.
Exactly. So you've got a lot of money there. But anyway, but what we're seeing is like the reason I clapped at this is because I've seen so many interviews where it is a police officer or really a chief of police talking about how like all people want to blame the policing that goes on in a state, or an area, but we can only do so much. All we can do is arrest them if they're not being prosecuted or if they're being let out with no bail. There'll be people like he named. There was a guy. I can't remember where. I want to say it's Illinois. It may actually have been in Illinois, and he was frustrated because he said there was a guy, and he named the guy. He was arrested 3 times in the same day for robbery.
Good grief.
Dude is robbing
got
people.
back on the street, got right back to work.
Yeah, he's robbing people, and so he's got three times in the same day. They're arresting these people, cashless bail. They get sent out back onto the streets, even if they've done violence. Even if it's like armed robbery,
Yep.
Sometimes it's cashless bail, and you're just like, oh no, that's a violent offense. It's not. It is.
Isn't that like also like the quintessential like stereotype of the Democrat? Like they're calling something bail it's not even bail. Like it's cashless bail. So it's not bail.
So it's not bail.
It's not
Cashless
bail. It's like it's an oxymoron.
Yeah,
It's so
it's
classic.
like no.
Cashless bail.
And they're like, well, because what it does is it restricts your ability if you are poor.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have the ability to bail yourself out, okay. Bail and bond is supposed to assess threat to the community.
Yes.
Right? So which is why a murder suspect, if they're arrested, very rarely gets bail, unless they've allegedly murdered a spouse.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. But if
I will say this, there's even limits to that with that Carmelo Anthony guy.
Yeah.
Isn't he free right now?
He is,
And he's
yeah.
on camera stabbing Austin Metcalf.
right. And so what you have here is even that, but you're trying to assess their risk to the community. And by having bail, you've had someone, say maybe they're taking out a second mortgage against their house to try to get you out of jail. You have community investment in you walking a straight line. Okay? You've got someone, a bail bondsman or someone who came up there with a checkbook to try to get you out of jail. They're assessing their risk and taking your risk on. And so if you're just letting them go, why in the world? I didn't get away with the robbery today, but maybe I will tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe, if I get away with 7 out of 10 robberies, those 3 that I get arrested on, who cares? I'm back out on the streets. It doesn't matter to them.
Yeah. And so good on Trump for doing that. And
We've needed this for a
Let's say,
long
yeah,
time. This
it's
cashless bail's
insane.
crap. So withholding funds from them, that's going to be incredible. I mean, obviously that'll be challenged.
Of course it will. But hey, you know what? You know what's always been known as when the government has been working against conservative red states for my whole life? It's that federal money comes with strings attached. And
Yep.
those strings were designed to eliminate the drinking age from 18 in Mississippi and bringing it up to 21.
Right.
Or you're not getting any highway money if you don't bring the driving age up to 16. They wanted a uniform, and you can say what
Yeah.
you want to. I think fundamentally it made us less sovereign in terms of having a patchwork of different laws. Like if you like the laws here, move to Arkansas. If you don't, there's another state that might do things a little differently.
Sure.
When it comes to federal funding, we have that top-down approach. That's the way it is. But now that it's being used against Democrat-run cities, hey, it's a fact. I'm sorry. As a red state, you want to take the federal money? Well, it comes with strings attached. End your cashless bail nonsense and quit making the people in your cities less
suffer.
safe and
Yeah.
suffer. Yeah.
Yeah, because the people that are releasing these individuals out into the community are not the victims of the crime.
Mm-hmm.
They're not the ones that have to, like they're now in fear. Like, this old lady gets robbed on her way to the grocery store. What is she going to think about the next time she goes to the grocery store?
Yep.
She's going to be worried to death. And if she has no other choice, but she has to go to, people have to eat. You
So
have to have
you're
groceries.
living in fear, and a lot
right?
of us have no idea what actually is going on there. And Tim Burchett actually said from Tennessee, he's like, come to Memphis. He was like, come to Memphis. He said, I was in the state legislature for 6 years. He said, I went to Memphis, brother. I'm never going back.
Yeah.
That place is dangerous.
Honestly, I think Trump could give himself a lot more validity on some of these things if he would send these into red states that are in these blue cities.
we would
that
love
are in
them.
red states.
Oh man, the people.
Yeah.
I agree, 100%.
Right,
Yeah.
send them to Little Rock, Arkansas,
Yep.
and Governor Sanders, she would do well to come out and say, you know what, we have the greatest police officers in the country, but even they get overworked and all of this stuff. We'll take any help that we can get, Mr. President.
Little Rock's run by Dems.
That's right. That's right. And she is a conservative Republican in the middle of a bunch of Democrats right there in the center of the state, because the rest of the state is more conservative. But anyway, send them to Memphis. Send them St. Louis, Democrat city, inside of a red state. Send them to St. Louis. Do all of that, and then you're like, hey, I'm cleaning up everybody.
You know what? If you went to the red state cities first, it would make the blue state cities look even worse.
Oh, yeah.
It would make the Democrat leadership look even worse.
Yeah, just be like, hey, I'm cleaning up these blue cities.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Yeah, exactly. Cracker Barrel has
responded.
We're
going to go over that in a minute. Didn't they? Their response?
Yeah, they gave us some non-apology apology,
Yeah.
but we're going to go here first.
Here at Cracker Barrel, we value diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's why we are going one step further to ruin our brand. We are investing millions of dollars into replacing all of brown pegs in the peg game to bright, colorful pegs. Also, we're changing the rules. The white pegs are not allowed to move or jump anymore, leaving the colored pegs to do whatever they want. We call it Down with the Cracker.
Colored pegs to do whatever you want.
Oh my gosh.
Leaving the colored pegs to do whatever they want. We call it Down with the Cracker. It's about being fair in an unfair world. Are you
No,
down
did you
with
see
the
it's a
cracker?
white lady waiting on a
Whatever
table
they
of
want.
black people?
We call it Down with the Cracker. It's about being fair in an unfair world. Are you down with the cracker?
Oh man, that's fantastic. Robbie Starbuck, whoever made this fake Cracker Barrel ad, should take over SNL. Perfect.
Perfect. Yeah. So obviously they're taking a beating. I've got a liberal friend, and he had posted, I guess our local news place, whatever, posted about the Cracker Barrel controversy, and he was one of the first posted, and he was like, "You can't buy this type of advertising. This is great advertising." I'm like, not all advertising is good advertising here. There might be some people that will want to go to see one of those new revamped places just to say they did.
Yeah.
But if you start revamping all these places and you take away what people love about Cracker Barrel, you're going to see how much fall from grace that you can have here. But he was like, "Oh, you can't buy this type of advertising," and you're like, "Well, if that's true, we wouldn't have this. We wouldn't have Cracker Barrel coming out and addressing the elephant in the room."
Yep, and which they have. Cracker Barrel, Robbie Starbuck, Cracker Barrel just released this dumb statement. Let's just read the statement because it is pretty dumb. Mm-hmm. If the last few days have shown us anything, it's how deeply people care about Cracker Barrel. We're truly grateful for your heartfelt voices. You've also shown us that we could have done a better job sharing who we are and who will always be. What has not changed and what will never change are the values this company was built on when Cracker Barrel first opened in 1969. Hard work, family, and scratch-cooked food made with care. A place where everyone feels at home no matter where you're from or where you're headed. That's the Cracker Barrel you'll always find. The things people love most about our stores aren't going anywhere. Rocking chairs on the porch, a warm fire in the hearth, peg games on the table. By the way, that actually might attract some liberals. Unique treasures in our gift shop and vintage Americana with antiques pulled straight from our warehouse in Lebanon, Tennessee. We love seeing how much you care for our old timer. We love him too. How dare they say that? No,
Oh,
they
yeah.
no,
You
they
don't either. You
They
got
took
rid of him.
Off. Uncle Herschel will still be on our menu. Welcome back. So this is also, it's like Uncle Herschel will still be on our menu. Okay, cool. Welcome back, Uncle Herschel's favorite. So he wasn't on the menu.
No.
He will. So it just kind of leads you to believe he never left. But then you read, no, they did take him off. So now they're bringing this Uncle Herschel back on our road signs and featured in our country store. He's not going anywhere. He's family.
Yeah, he just took him off the front of the building.
While our logo and remodels may be making headlines, our bigger focus is still right here where it belongs, in the kitchen, your plate, serving generous portions, blah, 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 meatloaf, chicken and dumplings, country fried steak, blah, 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 blah. We also want to be sure Cracker Barrel is here for the next generation of families, just as it's been for yours. That means showing up on new platforms and in the new ways, but also with our heritage in our heart. Anyway, what a terrible idea to make this statement. Because if you're going to make a statement, you should have handled this the way Coca-Cola handled New Coke. And when they tried to get rid of Diet Coke, it was a huge disaster. So you know what they did? They brought Diet Coke back. They should have caved, and they should have brought the old logo back.
So, they brought back the original Coke, and then they changed the name from the original Coke to Coca-Cola Classic.
Right.
Which is what we have to this day.
So it wasn't a Diet Coke thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. No. It was they created a new formula for new Coke, and then Pepsi became number one for the first time. And it was like just this huge marketing ploy, and they did this whole thing about these taste tests and all of this stuff. So I used to work for Coca-Cola and Pepsi. I went I left Coca-Cola and went to the devil.
You traitor.
Right?
Where do you fall now on Coke or Pepsi products? What do you think?
I much prefer a Diet Pepsi as my drink. Now, I know I'm in the minority. That's what I want.
We had this conversation before.
Yeah, that's what I want. I don't Diet Dr. Pepper's too sweet, and Diet Coke's a little bit of a medicinal taste to me. I've never really liked it, so Diet Pepsi is where I am. But here's what ticks me off. So we went to Freddy's. Freddy's frozen custard. It's a thing here in the South. If you're listening nationwide,
hamburgers. Yeah,
it's hamburgers and custard, and it's a great place. But they took off the Diet Pepsi, and they're replacing it with Pepsi sugar-free, right?
Like a zero, like Pepsi Zero.
It's like a zero.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're doing that at other restaurants with Coke, and they're taking, because I'll drink Diet Coke if that's the only thing or whatever. But they're taking that, they're getting rid of it, and they're doing Coke Zero Sugar, which is not the same thing. And they just think, oh, well, if you like Diet Coke, you like it because it's 0 calories.
Right.
And you're like, no, I just don't drink a lot of sweet stuff. This Monster drink that I drink every day pretty much is a little too sweet for me. But I don't like Zero, Coke Zero and Pepsi Zero or whatever. I don't like that because it's just too sweet. I like it to have a little bit more of a diet taste, and that's just as I've gotten older. I mean, I used to drink Kool-Aid growing up with 2 cups of sugar per gallon, and it was like,
back
whatever.
in the day, I was a Mountain Dew guy.
Yeah. And so anyway, so quit doing that, by the way. That's just a side note. Quit changing this crap up, thinking
But to the point, Cracker Barrel's lost their minds. They're going to get more roasted over this than they would have if they would have just said nothing, or they would have been congratulated had they just brought the guy back. Bring the guy back. I don't understand.
Well, and I think that the CEO did the wrong thing with when Michael Strahan was interviewing her, because he just said, well, there's been some outlash. I can't remember exactly how he put it, but there's been some backlash about this. What do you say to people who feel like that she was like, the response that we've got has been overwhelmingly positive, right? Wait a minute, just say, what we know is that there probably will be some people who don't like the idea of changing things up, but all I'm asking for them is to give us a chance.
Right.
Before you decide, come in, visit us, see the rebranded store here, see what it looks like, see if it still feels like that, whatever. That would have gone a lot more than, you're wrong, Michael. Everybody's been positive, because no, they haven't.
Yeah.
And they now see that, or else they wouldn't have come out with this statement.
Yeah, and the stock price takes a hit last week. I don't even know what
I haven't seen what it is today, but
yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Hey, real quick before we go, I want to cover this story real quick. I sent this to you yesterday, Rob, but this is pretty wild stuff.
Man, this was brutal.
Rampage MMA fighter, UFC champion Rampage Jackson's son is likely going to be arrested and jailed after nearly killing a wrestler because he disrespected him before the match.
Hold up just a second.
Yeah.
So there was a disrespect before the match.
You want to see that first?
Okay, yeah.
So this is the disrespect before the match. Now, this New York Post story says, because the guy's in the hospital now, says that this was likely a setup for a wrestling match, meaning a fake.
Yes, it was a fake promo.
Because I'm sorry.
Right,
wrestling's not real.
Right, it was a fake. It was a promo, and I guess maybe like this doesn't smash correctly, and this guy got ticked about.
Watch this.
Worry about him. Psycho Stu. Worried about Psycho Stu. Psycho Stu. What? You don't know me? Hell no.
That's Psycho Stu.
Yeah.
Hey, I think that's a little.
Oh, you don't sell it? He's not a fucking worker, bro. Calm down.
Yeah, what the fuck was that?
You're good.
What the fuck was that?
You don't sell it? Dude, he's not a fucking worker, bro.
So it was supposed to be a bit.
That's supposed to be a bit.
And this guy didn't sell it.
This guy didn't sell it, and then he got upset, and then in the
we're talking about Rampage, the guy there.
Rampage's son.
Rampage's son, sorry.
Okay.
I don't know these
That's
people.
supposed to be a setup for a wrestling match,
Right.
like to promote and say, okay, we're going to fight it out in the ring later.
Smash that against his head, and he's supposed to sell it. Well, then, do you have the video? You may not, where they talk after the fact and they shake hands.
I don't have that.
So the guy that did the smack against his head, was just like, "Hey, man, I thought we were doing a bit, whatever, whatever."
Yeah.
And he's like, "It's all good. We're straight," and they shake hands.
Okay, so then
this happens.
They get to the main event.
You
slams his head here, and he's out as soon as he hits. Boom. These are real punches. $22 punches. You got all these wrestlers that are jumping in because this thing is nowhere.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out. Well, is this real?
Yeah, yeah. Well, they figured out that he was really punching.
Yeah, they did, but it took them a while.
Yeah.
And so now this guy's in the hospital, and
he was out as soon as he hit the mat, so he never felt any of those 22 punches, but they were doing damage.
Yeah, they were. So it's the professional wrestler named Psycho Stu. His real name is Stuart Smith, and again, that was Rampage Jackson's son, and now he's in critical condition, or stable but critical condition, unstable but critical care.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's at first they said that he was going to recover, and now they're not so sure after taking a beating like that. So, I mean, I don't follow a lot of UFC. I certainly don't follow a lot of wrestling. That's just not something I'm interested in. But that just seems so incredible, and that somebody would take something that was supposed to be a theatrical bit, and you then got offended, and then you took cheap shots at somebody. You absolutely should be charged.
He came out and said that he was told that he could take a little bit of retribution in the ring. Now, I don't know who told him that. I don't know if this is the organizer, the promoter here that put this on, or what. And then there's a video, like his dad, Rampage. Who is Rampage?
He's a UFC champion, Rob, and you should know better.
I follow like the major headlines with UFC, but I don't follow these people. But anyway, so he basically, has a phone call with his dad, which is Rampage, this guy here.
Oh, this guy, Rampage?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm pretty sure this guy has an Instagram account that is hilarious.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, so he's talking on the phone, and his dad's like, "No, man, you took this way too far." He's like trying to chastise him a little bit, and all the kid could make in concession there, this Raja or whatever, was "my bad." That's all he said.
Wow.
He damn near killed somebody.
Wow.
And all he could stomach was "my bad." And so then, but this Rampage went on there and trying to defend him online. I mean, it's just a bad look for everybody there. It's just not.
It's incredible.
Beating a man unconscious when I've seen so many documentaries and it talked about the first thing you're supposed to always do is protect your opponent. You got to protect your opponent because if you're protecting him, he's protecting you. Right. Anyway.
Yeah, those are the rules of wrestling, and this turned into actual MMA, bare knuckle fighting. So
yeah, so Cracker Barrel has lost about $100 million in value since the whole
$100 million in value
in stock value since this.
Oh my goodness! And
debacle.
then they put out a statement that's not going to solve the bleed. So they had meetings. They had meetings about what to do. This was what they decided, and I'm telling you, it's not going to fix anything.
Yeah, and they signed it Cracker Barrel instead of the new CEO. Like if this new CEO would have come out and eaten some crow with it, no, she'll be out of a job soon.
Yeah, that's incredible.
There's no way around that.
So the weather's fantastic out in Arkansas.
In Arkansas, it's beautiful.
We've got a reprieve from the heat, so I hope everybody in the South enjoys it.
Fall in Arkansas. I would like to go. The only other place that I would really like to go in the fall is Salem, Massachusetts. I would love to go. It'd be really cool to go through there with the witch trials and all of that stuff. And I see all these videos, like my algorithms, all that stuff. It would be really, really cool to be in Massachusetts there and see that in the fall. And now I hear it's like crazy, crazy busy.
Yeah. I think my folks went up there for some Northeastern tour, New England tour back when the Leafs were last year, 2 years ago. But we're in fake fall. Right now,
fake fall.
The South is in fake fall because it's August 25th and we're getting this 80-degree, 70-degree weather.
Yeah.
And it's a fake out,
right?
Because everything's gonna go back up, in my opinion. So don't get too comfortable. Don't get the pumpkin spice lattes out yet. Everybody, calm down. Just enjoy this unusually cool August week.
Hey, college football starts this Saturday, so I am going to be a happy camper.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. All right, folks. I want to remind everybody to go to paultalkshow.substack.com. You can do that right there, paultalkshow.substack.com, if you want to become a paid subscriber of what we're doing here, and you get a copy of Left Wing Will and the Red Pill. Rob, my friend, thank you so much for being with us. It's always great to talk to you.
Glad to be here as always. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place.
All right, folks. We'll see you then.